What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to a happy match reaction here on Anfield Agenda after the Reds have gone over to Milan and beaten Inter by a 0-0. A result that does our league phase in the Champions League no harm whatsoever. And just in case you're wondering what that feeling is that you have right now, it's happiness. We haven't had it for a while, but it's there, right? Now, it wasn't perfect, but it is a baby step in the right direction. And that, my friends, is more than enough for me right now. We will discuss the performances, we'll discuss the goal ruled out, the penalty incident, and everything else over the next 45 minutes or so. We do want to know your thoughts, so of course, please feel free to let us know in the comment section. Do drop a like on this video if you enjoy it, and I certainly hope you do. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. The WhatsApp in the bottom corner of the screen is where you can go to get your Anfield Agenda player ratings form if you'd like to submit it to be included in our player ratings video. Join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp with that QR code. There we'll keep you up to date with transfer news. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest breaking news around the football club in general. And of course, we'll be asking your opinion on lots of stuff, right? Whew! Breathe, folks, breathe. Look, let me just give you my take on it before we get straight into everyone's thoughts on the game. That was a far more solid performance. Yes, it lacked some of the flair at times, but we were compact, and an away from home performance in Europe like that, no problem with it whatsoever. In fact, it's kind of what I expect away from home in Europe. We all talked, and you guys talked, and credit you for it, to say that when Wirtz comes on, we will see a difference in this game. He did come on, he did get the penalty awarded, but more than that, he did show that he can operate in that role where he feels most comfortable. There are still things that we need to do better. We still need to look a little bit more cohesive, but the work rate was better. The system, whilst somewhat limited, did give us the ability to be more compact, and you have to say on that side, it worked. Defensively, we didn't look anywhere near as vulnerable as we have in recent games gone by, and a clean sheet away from home in Europe, that'll do nicely. So look, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll take you through some of the underlying numbers from the game as well. But to go over there with no Salah, no Chiesa, no Gakpo, no Endo, no Frimpong, no Leone, and come away with a 1-0 victory. However it comes about, I'm happy with that, folks. You count me as a very happy Red right now. Blizzard said, not the performance we wanted, but one we needed. Yeah, look, winning a game of football is the first thing, right? But you know, performances will get better when confidence starts to build. But that is a confidence building win. You know, at any point in your evolution as a team, to go over to Italy, to one of the Milan clubs, or to Turin, and get a win on away soil in the Champions League, that'll do. I'll take that any day of the week. So, yes, there's certainly a lot of steps forward still to take, but I'm very, very happy. Congrats for Dom stepping up. I was wondering who was going to take the penalty, but Dom did step up, and despite my absolutely appalling commentary, of which it was, where I said saved, even though I meant to say scored, yeah, I'm really happy. Where are we on with this one? What a result. Discipline, very happy man, said Kai. Thank you, Kai. Conor Bradley is a bad man. Let's go. Look, I love me a bit of Bradley, as you know. We invested in a Conor Bradley painting for the studio as well, which is at the Framers and should be ready early January. So I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, look, he makes a big difference. When the substitution board went up and we seen who was coming on, it made sense to me, the changes. And they both made an impact. So well done to them and well done to the manager for that. Dom saving us again, not surprised at all. Well, to be honest, mate, it's a penalty. You know, he'd backed most of the lads to step up and score it. But look, he did. And again, it was a good performance. So much love to Dom. Ebook, split personality, 1 world class, 2 Sunday league. Well, thankfully, the first one showed up today. And look, a clean sheet's great. I didn't think we were going to keep a clean sheet before the game. But look, I'll take it. Look, your man of the match poll is up. And the options you have are Dominic Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, Alisson Becker, and Hugo Ekitike. Now, I want to just say one thing. Curtis Jones, whilst probably not man of the match, deserves his flowers today, because he put in a very, very good performance and was always looking to drive us forward, played with a lot of heart, and that needs to be credited, because he comes in for a lot of flack, sometimes deservedly. But today, I thought he put in a great shift. This one from Mikey Shaw said, "Don't care about this unless we beat Brighton." Well, look, to say I don't care about it, mate, is probably a bit harsh. But backing it up with a win against Brighton, of course, is needed, Mikey. I just want us to get back in the right direction, mate. And yes, you're right. We do need to back this up with a victory over Brighton. But I'll take this to at least put a bit of positivity in and around the club for the minute. Jordan Hunnable said, "What does it mean when you score more than the opposition? I've forgotten." It means red panty night, dude. That's what it means. Red panty night. Jones showed the fighting spirit of Klopp, said Triller. Boss that man Curtis, said Philip Melia. What else have we got in the chat? Called it slot 65th minute man. Can't seem to think before this time. Gomez was solid again, said Colin. Yep, he was, absolutely. CPGKTU, said Craig. Any coincidence between Salah not being there and the team playing well? You could see a world where he is the one trying to turn the players against Salah. Not blaming him, but interesting. Well, there have been a few takes that have suggested that his outburst, and I think Carragher said it on Sky, that they believed his outburst was to try to get the manager sacked. But look, for me, there's no winning in this scenario, but there was a win today, and I think that's where we should focus for now, because we've all had enough of the infighting, the snidey stuff, the media outbursts. We get a win today. Let's just enjoy the win for what it is, and hope, as Mikey said, that we can build on that and get a result against Brighton. Nice to see the fans giving Slot support, said Matty Gorman. Give Dom the armband, said Itachi. Our defensive solidity won us this game, said Red's Army. Yeah, exactly. We dealt with anything they threw at us. Yeah, look, I'm just happy with the win, lads. I'm just happy with the win. Soboslai is the new face of Liverpool, said Chad. Bastoni learning from Canade to fuck up his team, said Silver Bear. So, look, what do we think on the penalty incident? Because, look, I agree it was soft. I don't think anybody can say maybe it wasn't soft, but, you know, when you drag somebody by the back of the shirt in the penalty area, you're running the risk. And like we said, any defender, given a referee a decision to make, you're running the risk. And another day that might not have been given. And I fully accept that it was one of them. But like I said, in the first half as well, it felt like there was no way that handball was intentional from Ekatike, and that was ruled out, and we had to take that on the chin. So, yeah, that's kind of where we've been at. He was being dragged when the ball was played. He couldn't get to the ball, said Phil Cox. It was a pen, but I would also be pissed if it happened against us. Yeah, I think that's one of those things. Sorry. Apologies. The handball earlier was wrong and the pen made up for it. Champions League still possible to get top 8. Definitely. That result makes it more than possible to get into the top 8. It's just a good result. And let's give you some of the words from the players actually after the game. So let me give you this. I'm getting some stuff sent through to me by Keane, who's always on the ball. So that's the first time since 2022 that Inter have lost a home Champions League game. Winning 15, drawing 3. So shows you the scope of that result tonight. Liverpool have visited San Siro 4 times in the past 4 years. Beat AC Milan 2-1. Beat Inter 2-0. Beat AC Milan 3-1. Beat Inter 1-0 in December. Said James Pearce. Robbo said huge result. We knew they were coming in a tough place. We had to show fight. We had determination to dig them in. Sorry, folks. One sec. We deserve that. Grafenberg's for man of the match. What happened to Endo? He's injured. Injured or ill. Sorry, I'm trying to... So, Chiesa was ill. Endo, I think, had a knock or was ill. Gakpo's injured. Yeah. So, look, how are we feeling after that? Because I don't think Isak put in a blinding performance. And there's still a lot more that he needs to do. I think Ekatike shows what he's about. And look, maybe this was somewhat a little bit fortunate. But, we're probably due a little bit of good luck. And like we've said many times, if you can keep a clean sheet, you're putting yourself in with a chance. And that's what we did tonight. Craig, surely they're fighting for slot, mate. Gary, look, I said how do I say this into a decent sentence? I said against Leeds that up until the point we capitulated, there was fight there and it looked better. Tonight, we were solid and the work rate and effort was there. So, yes, they're absolutely not throwing the manager under a bus there tonight, not by any way. And against Leeds, it was the confidence thing of almost accepting the equaliser was going to come because of how low the mood is. So, there's definitely been some positive steps forward. Yes, there has. As I said, I always am open to being completely transparent. The manager still has a bit of a way to go. And he still has some things to figure out. But ultimately, I'm a Liverpool fan that wants Liverpool to win. I've no interest in just having an agenda to get anybody in or out. I just want to call things as I see it. And tonight, that was a step forward. And that surely is going to be a confidence-building win. Because it's not an easy place to go. Over to the San Siro or the Giuseppe Meazza, whichever way you want to call it, and get a result. And I'll take that. And I do sincerely hope that this is the start of us moving in the right direction. I really do. There was a lot of people saying this week that they want us to lose, so they want the manager fired. Now, I still think the manager's job's on the line, but I'll never, ever want us to lose a game of football. Never. Nice to see the fans giving Slot support, said Maddie. They always do, mate. They always do. They always do, especially the travelling cop. They're amazing. Chad said Szoboszlai is the new face of Liverpool. We've done that one. Thank you, Chad. Bastoni Learning, we've done that one. David said happy with the win onwards and upwards. Absolutely. I'll take it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, right? I came into this game tonight sad, flat, not knowing what to expect, fearing the worst, and probably it's the least inspired I've ever been for a Champions League game with Liverpool. But thank goodness we now have something to get our teeth into in a positive sense and hopefully build from. You know, 2 wins, 2 draws from the last 4. Build on this. Get a win against Brighton and start climbing up that league table. You know, and then we're all happier. Chris Tat Music said that'll all do. Soft pen, but we need the breaks these days. I'd sack the commentator though, man. I would as well. He deserves to go. Connor for the job. Curtis says the locked baller inside him need to unlock. Said Klopp Norbert LFC. Don't want to bring the Salah elephant, but great win. Isak, Hugo, Flo are needed in the future. Still want Salah to have an exit of a king he deserves. So look, I said something maybe 2 weeks ago on a stream, and I said we need to build to the future, and we need to build with the newer players. And if Salah or anybody else can still contribute and find a way to be part of that, brilliant. But you did bring in these players for the future, and let's look to them. Let's give them a chance to finally find that chemistry, camaraderie, and build their relationships. And that's, step by step we're getting there. Hopefully the injuries start, becoming a little bit less. Hopefully we can go into the January window, be proactive, bring in a centre-back. And, you mentioned the Salah situation. I'd be really interested in your take on this. I don't see any way back for him. I just don't. It feels like this will now be used as the reason to sell him. And look, like you said, and I think you've summed it up very well, I want him to not go with bitterness. I want it to be shown respect and to go the right way. Without Mo, just a matter of time before it clicks, said FC Pitside. Stevie Boy said thoughts on the penalty. Sorry, more stuff going on in the background, more drama that I just don't have the time for now. It was soft. Sorry, mate, it was soft. But I don't care, ultimately. Because I feel the goal that went against us in the first half was also soft. And that could have gone our way as well. So, one against us, one for us. It was a soft penalty. If it had been given against us, I wouldn't have been happy. But, you and I didn't make that decision. So I'll take it and we move. Kai said those players were fighting for slot tonight. They were. Absolutely. Can't argue with that, mate. Tonight we feast. Save some room for Saturday, said Chad. It feels so good to taste victory again, said Adamus. The difference when everybody defends plus hard work, said Vava Knives. Yeah, look, the system, I think he should stick with the system because I think it leans into the attributes of the players we have better. Because if we look at the wingers we have at the club right now, they aren't wingers with pace. They aren't wingers that are going to take on fullbacks. And they're wingers that often cut inside to end up blocking the channel of other people. So always felt when he brought in 2 strikers and Wirtz that you got to find some way to get somebody in behind the 2 strikers and then have your with him your fullbacks. So I hope that there is an eye for a 3-5-2 or something like that, or a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2. I hope that there is a thought process there. Because with the addition of a couple of centre-backs, I think this team is now nearly tailor-made for that transition into a different setup. Because Wirtz looks far more comfortable. I know he was only on for like 25-ish, but he looked far more comfortable in that pocket than Maka did. But the biggest concern for me tonight was Isak. Because he really just doesn't look sharp. And I don't mean they weren't picking up with his runs. I mean his own touches. He just doesn't look smooth yet. He doesn't look confident yet. That was probably the one, that and Maka, who I thought was again nowhere near the level. They're probably the only two slight negatives I would have. I thought Jones was great. I thought both of our fullbacks did a good job. Gomez was obviously given far more license to get forward. Gravenberch did well enough in the centre of the park. Very good, again, in possession. Breaking through challenges. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my head's at. And Alisson, of course, with that great save from Laturo from the header at the end of the first half. You know, another thing that on a different day maybe goes against us. The difference when everybody defends on hard work. Daniel Stevenson said, anywhere else on the pitch, it's a free kick. Exactly. So you heard me earlier on, Daniel, or maybe you didn't, say there's almost some unwritten laws in football. And one of them is that for some reason, a penalty incident has to be a far greater foul than what they'd give a free kick for. Now, there's nothing written in law about that. And as you've said, a foul is a foul. But it's one of these unspoken things. And it's the same with a handball. Defenders get away with far more for a handball than an attacking team does. And that's not written into the law. So there is always some built-in hypocrisies into football that lead to these moments of soft pen, not soft pen. And look, the inconsistent refereeing is still a blight on the game. No argument about that. I'd be pissed if we conceded that pen. So would I. So would I, mate. But I also feel like it wasn't justified to rule out our goal because of where it was 6 inches from Virgil heading it onto Ekitike's arm. 6 inches or thereabouts. Not any time to react. Not intentional. But yet the goal gets ruled out for it. But as I said, if that was one defender heading the ball onto the arm of another defender in the penalty spot, you know it's getting waved away as no penalty. And rightly so. That's the hypocrisy of refereeing that pisses me off. Because there's unspoken laws that are refereed with. Haven't lost since he dropped Salah. Good win, said Stuart Coventry. And look, mate, whatever else we think, whatever side we are, that's a fact. And I'm not saying there's a correlation, but in those 4 games, we've won 2 and drawn 2. So many injuries and still no Chiesa. He was sick. He was sick. Simple as that. He wasn't in the squad today because he didn't travel. He was ill. Not a Jones fan. Yeah, but he played good tonight, said John Edwards. Thank you, John. David Massett said, justice for the disallowed goal in the first half. I agree. Chad said, I feel more confident when Robertson starts. I think it depends on the opposition. I think because he can be a bit rash, Kirkes, but he does have a better engine now to get up and down that flank. But if you're going to have one defender, one fullback very advanced, which Gomez was, and you want the counterbalance of the other one kind of not so advanced, Robertson makes sense there. Solid Verts cameo today, said Jurv. Can someone tell me what the formation was when Verts came on? I was so confused. I don't know, mate. Honestly, I don't know at that point. I was just kind of jumping between the chat, and I'll have to watch it back. But I hope we all agree that the substitutions did make a difference when they came on the pitch today in a positive way. Rocky said 4 unbeaten out. Not much, but it's a start. Jay Brill said Anfield Agenda does not have an agenda. Sometimes I do. Sometimes, I tell you, I have an agenda against some forms of journalism. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Cook journalism, as I like to call it. Or cuckold journalism, which I think bastardizes proper journalism. Vert, we need a DM, Craig. And I was thinking, Jesus, this is how dumb I am, bro. You said we need a DM, Craig, and my head went, is he something important to tell me? Can I get him to email me? I didn't think defensive midfielder at first. That's how Yeah, that's how all over the shop my head is, mate. But you're right, we do, Randy. We do need a defensive midfielder, no doubt. But I just think if I was to prioritise positions, centre back would be right at the top of my list. DM is right in there, and so is another wide player. Where are we at? This one from Cracker, Gone Crazy. What a name. I wish Rio got some minutes. Solid win, though. Definitely. Look, I can understand him not playing today. You know, I've always said I want Rio introduced at the right time, not to be a saviour, not with the pressure of the world on his shoulders, but with the freedom to go and express himself, with a confident team in and around him. That if he does make a mistake or two, there are players there to carry that. But a night like tonight, away from home in Europe, you know, I understand him not being in the starting lineup or not getting minutes, because that game was close right to the end. Am I slot in? No, I'm not. But like I've said, my view on anything is fluid. I'm slot out and that's it. You can never convince me. No, that is an agenda. I was very firmly behind Arna, then the run of results and the body language and so much other stuff didn't have me happy. But I'm open to being won back around, always. I want what's best for the team. I want the team to do well. Simple as that. My own agendas or beliefs are irrelevant. I want the team to do well. Maddie Gorman, how are we, Maddie? Said, you always give me and it might be just a picture when I'm saying, I always think, oh, he looks like Danny Murphy. When I see it, and I'm seeing the picture from far away, so I'm not trying to do you dirty, bro. We're Liverpool FC, we're not Player FC. I've seen other channels, these vile so-called fans praying we lost tonight. Look, some people have said this all week to me, mate, and I've always said the same thing. I never want Liverpool to lose a game of football, ever. I'm a Liverpool fan. I want the best for the club. And I don't want my own agenda to be enhanced by a negative result if I have... Like, I want the manager gone because I don't think he's good enough. But I'm open to my mind changing if we see performances that justify it. That's the most honest I can be about it. 72, The Bird said players really played their hearts out for Slot tonight. Arlo said the disallowed goal was ridiculous. We're still far from being back. Of course. There's not... Look, baby steps. Baby steps. But they are steps in the right direction. And for that, I'm always going to be happy. I've got a lot more quotes to give you now. Bear with me. And I know I've super chats to work through. I will get to them. So, Andy Robertson was asked if Salah will play again. And he said, it'll be up to other people. It's not up to me. I love playing with Mo Salah and I hope to continue playing with him. Clarence Seydorf said, Mohamed Salah will come back and apologise. I'm sure about that on Amazon Prime. Daniel Sturridge, speaking about Mohamed Salah, said, Mo has told me, I love this football club. He doesn't want to leave, but he wants to play. Well, if Mo has said that to Studge, right? If Mo has said that to Studge, that I love the club and I don't want to leave, but I want to play, then respectfully, he has to go about winning the manager round to play. And I mentioned earlier on that there's a set of statistics that Sky put up, and you can read this article for yourself. It's up on Sky, talking about the lack of defensive help that Salah gives us. And we talked about it earlier on. We are being targeted clearly down that side. His own sprints per game are absolutely on the floor compared to what they were in years gone by. He is bottom amongst every winger in the Premier League for track and back. He ranks bottom of the pile, a lot lower than others. So Mo needs to take it on the chin and earn his way back into the team if he really wants to stay at the club. It's that simple. Nobody has a divine right to play. Nobody. Now there is, I still believe, and I've said it, and I still believe that there is a desire behind the scenes to sell him. And I believe Edwards and Hughes, particularly Edwards, probably want that. But if what he said to Studge is true, then he's got to knuckle down and he's got to, earn his way back in. Simple as. Rich Bally said we earned good fortune, penalty or not. Carl said I'm still slot in, but must kick on from here. Rob Wilson, how are we, Rob? Said I think the future is bright with the young generation taking over from the older players, but it'll take time. It will. And look, I'm happy to see somewhat disjointed performances if it's with the aim of changing things. And I've said this so many times, Rob. I've always been accepting of mistakes if we're trying new things or it's a system they're not used to. What was annoying me and a lot of others was we were in the same system and the things weren't working and nothing was changing. Now, maybe it was by injuries, or maybe it was because of injuries tonight that he had to change that shape even more narrow, but it at least made us solid. And there is a foundation to build on. And I've been a big believer in, if you go out there and you spend the amount of money you did on Ekitike, Isak, Wirtz, it is upon you to make sure that you get the best out of those, whatever that system might be. And there is a world there now where Wirtz can become the guy in the space behind the strikers. Isak has to pull his socks up a bit, but there was the makings of something there. But baby steps. Let's just hope this leads to a win at the weekend. Craig, most distance covered during the game is a fraction higher, but the stats that count for him are way down. Yeah, I've seen all the stats, like I said, and you are right. He's from last season, by the way. What you're talking about is just based from last season. He's a bit up. The stats that Sky have up in that article go back 5-6 years, I think. Owen said, watching the game in Budapest, nice. Since it's amazing city, Szoboszlai scoring that pen makes it. Yeah, I've only ever heard good things about people who've been to Budapest. My in-laws were over there and they loved it as well. Marcel, how are we? Said, let's fucking go. Let's build on this Saturday. In slot and the squad, we believe. Finally, some luck with that penalty. This system will be far with Frimpong as a right back and Wirtz from the start. So, I actually think that I would disagree with you. I think Bradley deserves to keep his spot. Now, if Bradley can't stay fit, different conversation. But look, man, I'm just a big Bradley fan. I love his tenacity and his work rate. So, both of them, though, give us good options. Really energetic, positive fullbacks. Brownie Media said, a clean sheet away, wow. To think well, once healthy bench with the likes of Frimpong, Bocetić, Gakpo, Salah, Kirkes, and more. Yeah. You know, if everybody comes back in, we pick up a couple of centre-backs, we're not a million miles away. We don't have Bradley on Saturday, if my memory's right. I think he's suspended. So you probably expect Gomez to play again against Brighton on Saturday, because if my memory's right, I think Bradley's suspended for yellows. If you do want to submit your player ratings, there's still time to do so. Make sure you scan and join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp. The form is in there to submit your player ratings. So if you are already in there, you'll see the form. If not, just scan that QR code. Love the work rate of Ekitike, said Stargirl. Big Jungle Man said, Isak is starting to annoy me. Languid posture. Yeah, he's not right yet. The simplest, the most honest I can be about it is he looks quite far removed from what we know he's capable of. I love Gakpo, but just not loving him on the field this season. He's out when we look good, said West Side Stories. But look, let's talk about Gakpo there for a second. So in that system tonight, I can see a world where Gakpo is alongside Ekitike as the two central strikers with Wirtz in behind. I could see a world where Gakpo could absolutely do that and be the left side striker of a two. And not have to have the width or attack the space that we think. Because we know he's a good header of the ball. We know he knows where the net is. So, and we've seen Gakpo playing there before. I mean, you laugh and say no, Gakpo up top. Without just laughy faces, I don't see a rebuttal. What's the rebuttal? Other than you think you're right, you're not giving me an answer. And I think he could absolutely be a second striker. I'd rather him in there than wide and me screaming at him to use his width and not do it. And if we're going to change the system, well, where else is he going to play? Because he's not a wing back. So if we're going to use a system that's more narrow, where do you play him? He's just signed a new deal, so he's going to be around. Peter said, love the reaction from the players, shows togetherness in the group. Great display from Bradley. He is a man playing with high confidence at the minute. He just needs to stay fit, which of course, no player is intentionally not fit, but that's what's really been stopping his progress. So here's some more quotes for you. Arne Slot on the Salah situation. I separate these things, results. It was very difficult for the players to concede the last minute against Leeds. That was already emotional. What happened afterwards took away energy as well. More from Arne Slot. And would he like to see Salah back? Well, you say everyone makes mistakes in life, but the question is, should the players also recognise that as well? And should the initiative come from the players or me? Interesting. Arne Slot said, a lot of things have been said. That affects the players and the individual as well. He's been so influential. So I think Slot's played this Salah situation with a fairly straight bat, in all honesty. And like I've said many times, whatever we think of Slot, wherever you are on it, he is being thrown under the bus a lot of the time, being forced to answer questions that aren't his questions to answer. Hughes should be in front of camera more. Hughes should be answering some of these questions. And if they really, really are supportive of the manager, as much as they are briefing the media, then get the fuck out in front of a camera and back your manager. And answer the questions that aren't Slot's to answer. Like the future of players, contracts. Get your ass in front of the camera and earn your money. And take some of the pressure off your manager. Briefing media you support them ain't worth a shit. Get out there and physically support them. Last time Inter failed to score at home was 2012. Said find the pass. Well, happy to break a record in a good way for us. More flip-flops on this channel than a shoe shop. No, just say you're an idiot, Chico. Just say I'm a big fucking moron and I don't understand the difference between a fluid opinion and an agenda. Because every opinion varies. And if you cut out everything from your life from a disagreement, you'd have nobody in it. No mates, nobody. Every opinion is fluid. And all you are is another prick that wants to come in and try to make out like you're better than everybody else. You contribute nothing. Your opinion's empty. You're devoid of any type of critical thinking. So think about that next time before you try to belittle my community or me. You add nothing. You have nothing. It's that simple, bro. Doesn't take much to come in and be critical of people and shit all over them. But you don't have an opinion or a rebuttal or insight to give. You're just another sad little fuck on the internet who'll go nowhere in life with that attitude. That's the truth of it. Clean sheet is new. I love this community. Said I am the Oyster King. Thank you, bro. As do I. And I'm all for people having dissent or pushing back. But people come in that just go, you're all idiots, ha ha ha. That's doing nothing. They're adding nothing of substance at all. And no, Craig's not triggered, Stephen. I'm just being honest. It's simple. Like if you come into a YouTube chat, why not have something to contribute rather than you're all idiots and I'm better than you? That's just silly, childish and pointless. So I'm not triggered. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm trying to actually help these people, truth be told, because I don't want one of these kids getting a slap in the face someday when they take their online behaviour into the real world. I don't. You know, it takes nothing to shit on people and belittle them, but it takes a lot to lift people up and, have an open heart and a positive outlook, that'll get you a lot further in the world. So anyone that goes, haha, triggered, you're just another idiot. Empty, nothing going for you. Takes nothing to be a pissant and a coward. Takes balls to do what everybody else does, which is be vulnerable, contribute, be part of something. That's what life's about. Thought Gomez was solid, but Bradley was class. Gomez was solid, but Bradley definitely made a difference. Yeah, definitely made a difference when he came on. It's just, I think it's just the energy of Bradley. It will it'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday against Brighton, because he'll have a few of the lads back that were ill. I'm not sure exactly where we are with Frimpong. I know he's on the grass training, but not sure how close he is. And even at that, he's been out for quite a while now, so you wouldn't expect him to start a game straight away. You'd expect him to kind of come in. So I would expect Gomez to start at right back again at the weekend. Speaking the truth equals triggered. People trying their best to rage bait you. But my point is, that's all it is, mate. Like, that's their existence. They go on the internet to try to bait people into it. And then when somebody responds to them, it's triggered, ha ha ha. No, I'm trying to give you a life lesson. If you don't want to listen to it, cool. But you'll gain nothing, and eventually you'll run out of places to go. That's it. That's honestly it. Like, you're not going to make or break my day by coming in and calling me an idiot. That's, my wife calls me an idiot. It's all good. CJK Callum said, I remember 50k, nearly 10 times that. Congrats. Thank you, mate. But like I said, we all did this together. And hopefully we pick up some new family members along the way. Oh, lads, the relief. Honestly, just the relief from a win. Right, let's crown your Anfield Agenda Man of the Match. Wow. Over 10,000 votes. Thank you guys so much if you have voted. Your Anfield Agenda Man of the Match with 71% is Dominic Szoboszlai. Your goal scorer today as well. So thank you, Dom, for that, and congrats to him, and well done to you guys on the vote. What did Tyson say? The internet gives young ones a false sense, disrespectful. He said something like the internet has lured you all into believing that, or getting away with stuff that you'll get a slap in the mouth for, which is true. And I don't want to see that happen to any of this generation of kids. A lot of people are looking to the wrong role models and the wrong people for advice. You'll get a lot further in life with an open heart and a bit of love and a bit of positivity. I called it a half-time. Bring Wirtz on and watch him find those tight pockets. Look at the pressure ramp up. Once the team understand that Wirtz can locate the tight gaps past, it'll get better. 100%. 100%. Maybe this is just me, but some of my favourite players over the years have been those that find those pockets of space. Your Phil Coutinho's, your David Silva's. I love those type of footballers, and they're a special breed of player. But it is then incumbent upon the rest of the team to make sure that they're looking for him in these spaces. In the first half, Alexis McAllister, there was 3 or 4 times I counted that he had gone into the centre of 4 players, and there was space there with him having 5 yards all around him, and we just weren't able to see it. That's where your Gravenberches come into it. He's able to be press resistant. He's able to break a line and spot a pass. So if you've got somebody in behind him that's a bit, a Rodri or a Fabinho, then give Gravenberch the ability to play forward, Wirtz the ability to play forward, and it will knit together better. So there are certainly some encouraging signs there, but we need to build on it. We need to keep building on it. User said, sincerity is dead amongst a lot of people, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, man. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. I wish these people happiness. I really do, because I'd hate to get up every day so negatively minded to go on and my whole day is spent trying to talk shit about other people. It must be depressing. Ignore these idiots, mate. Let them still in their crisp crumb riddle beds, chewing on their keyboards while chatting absolute rubbish. Yeah, I just, maybe I'm naive, but, sometimes I like to try and kill people with a bit of kindness and a bit of advice. Because I don't want them to walk into trouble in their life. I don't. Player showed Mo that he can try to sink the ship, but they ain't going down with him. They have a lifeboat in the name of Soboslai. Look, it's good vibes. It's good vibes tonight, lads. It's a good win, and I'm fucking delighted. We haven't had a lot to smile about. It's not the end of everything, but let's be honest. The club needed this tonight. We needed a win. We needed something positive. We needed to take the headlines over with something football related that isn't drama, and that'll do for me tonight. Great solutions or substitutions, excuse me, says Fosvids. Let's hope he pushes into the next game. Not like after Madrid game. Great work, Craig. Let's all stay positive. Thank you. CSH85 said, hey Craig, hope you're well. Thank you. What a performance. Reminding me of the performance last season. Look, at any point, of any team's evolution, going away to Italy, to the Inters, the ACs, the Juventuses, it's never going to be easy. And to leave with a win, that's always something that should be celebrated in the Champions League. An away win against a good side. Because when we looked at the fixtures, we looked at the Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid at home. You thought, all right. But all of us would have looked at Inter Milan away and thought, oh, that's a tough one. And we've won it. And we've given ourselves, where are we right now? And I know there's one more night's games to go, but where are we at? So right now we're 8th. Now we will be overtaken by teams tomorrow most likely, but we are now bang smack in the mix. Win these last 2 Champions League games, and I do say we're in the top 8 then, which is what you want, because the manager doesn't want 2 more games to run his players. Now, from my perspective, for the channel, 2 more games would be more beneficial, but I don't want it, because I want the lads to, get that round off and catch a breather. Where are we at? The Boost, thank you for becoming a member, my friend. Appreciate that. Craig, do you think the late winners are coming back? I don't know, but who doesn't love a late winner? Who does not love a late winner? We're not far off 4th. No, we're not. That's one of the saving graces for them in that is the top of that table is quite congested. Daniel, so Craig, you're such a great guy. Who's willing to do anything for anybody? It's just all class. I'm really happy we won tonight. And set the record at the San Siro. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the last season, isn't it? Are they moving out? Either way, it's an iconic venue, and we've had a lot of joy over there in recent years. Right, so this from Indy Kayla, who said, Arne Slot to hold emergency meeting with Salah tomorrow. Sporting director Richard Hughes will be attending. Salah must show remorse for his behaviour before Arne Slot considers adding him to the squad for the Brighton game. Henrik Mkhitaryan said, nobody deserved to win tonight. It was a draw. I don't know how they came up with the penalty, but this is football. Yeah, don't see him having anything to say on the other one being ruled out, though. It's a bit sour grapesy there from Mr. Mkhitaryan, but, we did win. Deserved to or not, we did. And that I'll take. Craig, can you elaborate on Slot's comments at the end of the game about Salah and what he said about the players? You said it was interesting. Which one was this? Let me go back up. Okay, this one I think is what you're talking about, mate. Let me just bring it back up. So he said, well, you say everyone's makes mistakes in life, but the question is, should the players also recognise that as well? And should the initiative come from the players or me? It's hard to really know what he means from that, without full context and being able to see his body language. But he also said there was a lot of things being said that affects the players and the individual, as well as he's been so influential. Do you guys think there's a way back, or do you think he gets sold? Because I'm going to be really honest about it. If Salah comes back in, let's say he apologises tomorrow, and he comes back in and he doesn't play for Brighton, and he goes to the AFCON and he comes back and he's still not getting regular starts, the toys are going to come out of the pram again. They are. They just are. But it's up to him now. It is up to him. He's got to work his way back into the manager's thinking or accept it. It is. That's it now. Arne Slot, the Cop Watch post to say Arne Slot making it quite clear he expects Salah to make the first move and apologise. Clarence Seedorf saying to Arne's face that he believes the manager should always be the first to open the door and allow a player to make that move. No, I would agree it's on Salah. It is. Look, in this situation, if there's somebody to apologise, it's got to be Salah to the manager. It has to be. Because the manager did nothing publicly. The manager didn't come out and say anything. You might not agree with him benching Salah or whatever, but the manager has to be the authority at a football club. It just has to be. And Arne's right to expect an apology if Salah wants back in. But I still want to know, are they trying to get rid of him? Yeah. So let's wait and see how it pans out. But if you really want to stay and you do love the club, you got to bite the bullet and apologise to the manager. Because you've every right to say what you've said behind the scenes, in private. But if you're going to say you've been thrown under the bus and accuse somebody of breaking promises, you got to say what they are. Because it's just a hypothetical after that. So look, I do believe they are trying to sell Salah. But I don't think it's necessarily on Arne. I think it's probably those above him. Yeah. So it's up to him to find his way back into the team. And if he wants to say, do the right thing and apologise. Or at least, open the channel of communication properly. A lot of this can be sorted out by sitting in a room together and not he said, she said, or, clips here, there. Get together, look each other in the eye and talk about it. Best way to solve anything. Wayne said, if we play with this formation going forward, where do we play your wingers is my worry. Don't want Rio getting pushed out because of formation. It definitely would be a question. 100%. I agree with you. I guess the question there could be, can Rio maybe be reinvented? Is he always going to be a winger? Can he become something else? An attacking mid, a 10. I'd say he definitely has the dribbling ability to be a 10, but he does have that pace that you want him on the outside. It doesn't mean like you have to be rigid. You can always tweak a formation if you think you need to beat more width. There's always enough room and game time for everyone. But if we're playing with wingers every week, I just don't think we have enough wingers. Jared Kelly said there is a way back if he says sorry. I don't think it matters what he says now. He's already shot his load. This one from Barty Man. Slot in, Mo in, Jones, Soboslai and subs. Excellent. Thank you, mate. I agree with you on... Look, yeah, I want everyone happy. I want Salah at the club. I want him to fulfill his 2-year contract that he signed. But nobody has a divine right to walk on the pitch. You've got to earn that right. Selling Salah defo sounds like Edwards' call up top. That's where my head's at, Arthur. It really is. Sorry, I'm scrolling for something. Where are we at? Where is it? Where is it gone? There you go. Paddy Wacker, I found your comment, mate. Yeah. He said, Craig, when we talk about respect, I know some people are arguing over Salah, but can we all just remember Mo is a human being and has served our club well? Can people just remember that? Absolutely. Everybody's a human being, everybody makes mistakes, and everything is salvageable with the right attitude for everybody involved. Unfortunately, look, as men, a lot of the shit we do in life is ego-driven. And you don't want to back down because you feel like it's shown a weakness. But sometimes a weakness is a strength. And having the humility to put your hands up, no matter who you are, goes a long way. And it certainly starts to break down the barriers. And humility is what this team needs now. It doesn't need egos. It needs team to work together, to fight for each other. You know, and you're always better together. It's not an individual sport. It's a team sport. And one of our greatest strengths on the Jurgen was that we punched above our weight because it was a machine that worked together, fought for each other, covered each other, pressed for each other. That's what it needs. So egos, if there are any, needs to be pushed to one side and talk like human beings. And I guarantee you find a way forward. But if it's just this one leak to the media here, one leak over there, it's not serving anybody well. It's all self-serving. I think Slot backed Gakpo for his pressing and defensive effort. In the Eredivisie, he sometimes played backs as wingers for defensive security. Klopp used to play these tight formations and Salah would attack in the centre as fast as possible. Is that background real? No, it's a green screen, mate. It's a green screen. We will have a new studio in the new year that is built now and we're kitting out and stuff. But yes, this one's a green screen. But we'll have a real one very soon. We won, but the play was shockingly slow and devoid of ideas. Hopefully the team steps it up in the coming fixtures because today was another match that was painful to sit through. But we did keep a clean sheet. And, you know, a manager sets a team up to get a result. And we got a result. So I agree, there's certainly more to come. But look, I'll take a win. I'll always take an away win in Europe. I would gain a lot of respect for Slot if he sorts things out with Salah. But it should be on Salah to put his hands up and say, you know, can I talk to you, manager? Or can I talk to you, Arne? You know, that will go a long way, I'm sure. Does the club have a mental health department? They had grief counsellors throughout the summer at the AXA for the staff and the players because obviously of the tragic passing of Diogo, which in and itself is a very strange thing. And I've said this before as well. For the players like Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike, Frimpong to come into that environment as well, you know, that must have been very strange. You know, you're walking into a grieving situation as well. So, yeah, there was grief counsellors there for them. And I'm sure that any help they need will be rightly given to them on a human level. Does anyone think there's anything to the idea that Mo could have organised the whole thing to be the bad guy to help Slot get by in the team? No, I don't. I don't believe that, no. Look at what our captain said the other day about losing Anfield games 2 in a row. They're going to fight. What happened? We didn't fight. The last couple of Anfield games weren't good enough. But look, ultimately, we've all heard enough talking, right? Actions is what's needed. And tonight was a win. And tonight we celebrate. Tonight we smile. Tonight we enjoy it. So, according to StatMuse, Mohamed Salah started 25 games as a striker for Liverpool in the Premier League and has scored 23 goals and 5 assists. So, even in this system, and by the way, many of us have said this for years, it almost felt like a natural move for Mo to go central after, you know, when his legs start going a bit. Ronaldo did it. Messi dropped a bit deeper at times. So, Mo, again, up top as a 2. I think many of us could see that. Right, folks, I'm going to go record the player ratings. There'll be a late night news video out as well, probably dropping after midnight anyway. Appreciate you all dropping in tonight. We will see you tomorrow, as always. And if you want to join the WhatsApp, you can submit your player ratings. Use the QR code on the screen there now. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.